So happy to be joined by one of my favorite big men who you can see as one half of the Fixers in the NWA, and also you can see him on Northeast Wrestling and elsewhere. It's Wrecking Ball Legursky. Wrecking Ball, welcome to Under the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversation. So good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. I've been wanting to come here for a while.
Yeah. We haven't gotten to do this too much, so this should be fun. So let's start off with what you've got going on. You're wrestling for the NWA. As I mentioned, this episode will come out after the NWA 312 events. We're taping this before that.
Mhm.
What is it like to be in the Fixers tag team with Jay Bradley, and how did that come about? And how would you describe who you are?
Oh, right. Well, that's a lot of questions in one question. Um, no, I love wrestling for the Fixers. It's like tagging with my big brother. I mean, obviously he's not literally my brother, but it feels like that. It's great to wrestle for the NWA. It's a great positive environment. Um, this was post pandemic. Jay wanted to come back to wrestling. Jay wanted to see what was available. Billy said the NWA was focusing on tag teams. Um, I had met Jay over the pandemic, and we had kept in contact and just on and off. You know, he did some online training during the pandemic, meaning he would do like match reviews. He would do, review my matches. He would review other matches of big men. Kind of kept in contact, and then faded away a little bit. And then, yeah, Billy said that he was focusing on tag teams, and that Jay's opportunity would be as a tag team wrestler, and he would need to find a partner. And Jay reached out back to me.
So he kind of sought you out, and how do you describe the Fixtures to somebody? It's a very unique. It's a very unique combination. Very unique. It's kind of unlike pretty much anything else I'm seeing in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, the best way I describe it is kind of, you know, we're 1980s movie bullies. We take a lot from, the Nasty Boys, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the Natural Disasters. We're very loud, patriotic, and in your face.
And what kind of influence has Jay Bradley had on you? He's a veteran who's seen so much and been so many places. I don't know if people realize, even his run up in SmackDown as Ryan Braddock years back, but he's pretty much been everywhere. So what kind of an influence has he had on you?
Jay's been a very positive influence. Um, Obviously, the NWA is a great atmosphere, as I said, but if, you know, something hasn't gone exactly the right way, or, I'm mad at something, he always is able to put things back to perspective. He's able to help me refocus and, you know, just put everything into perspective.
So at the Northeast Wrestling Spring Slam that's coming up, you're wrestling the AEW TNT champion Powerhouse Hobbs. You've wrestled a ton of huge guys in your career. I know I've seen you against Keith Lee live. I've seen you against Dijak live in Northeast
Mhm.
Wrestling. What are you expecting out of this clash with Hobbs? So for those of you who might not know Wrecking Ball necessarily, you're not exactly the smallest guy either.
No, no, it's gonna be a real battle of the big men. Like you said, I have a ton of experience. Keith Lee, Swagger. I recently wrestled former Ring of Honor wrestler Brian Malonis. It's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a war, um, and I think this match is really, really going to put me on the map.
Yeah, I'd agree. So, how does one work when you're a big man? Is it kind of trial and error for what you should and shouldn't do? Is there a certain confidence that comes along with working at the size that you are?
Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. it's also it takes a lot of conditioning. Um, being this big, I have to do so much conditioning, like a lot of cardio, a lot of training, a lot of preparation, just to keep my wind during a ring, during the ring time. Um, there's a lot of intensity. There's a lot of hard hitting. There's a lot of fire.
I remember telling you years ago, I think I saw you and Dijak at the show in Newburgh, and I told you that I liked your match, which I think was in Connecticut. I want to say that was in Danbury when I saw it. It was on the undercard of the Cody Angle show, if I
Yeah, that
remember
was
right.
in Waterbury. Yeah,
Waterbury, Connecticut. That's right.
yeah. Hmm.
And I had mentioned to you, and I accidentally sort of insulted Dijak at the same time. I was like, you guys did so many things in that match that I didn't expect to see from guys of your size, and similar to your match with Keith Lee too. So that's got to be a good feeling when you go in there and you pull off some stuff. I remember watching you versus Keith Lee, and I'm watching you do a float over in the corner over the top of him, and everybody in the arena is going, "The two guys that big really seriously just do that?" So that's got to be a pretty cool feeling for you when you're able to kind of pull off things that make the crowd kind of have their jaws hit the ground.
Oh, absolutely. Um, it's a weird combination of you know the basics still work, the big hard hitting and shoulders and big power moves and power slams still work, but it's also a different time. To be big, you not only need to be strong, you need to be athletic as well. And I think I do a good combination of using my power and intensity while still using athleticism for the more modern era.
And you are an athlete. You played college football before you got into pro wrestling. So what? I don't
Mhm.
really know the whole story totally. So what kind of led you into your career in pro wrestling, and what did your path look like?
Um, so I played Division II college football at Southern Connecticut State University. Um, my career didn't quite go the way I wanted it. I was a starter when I was healthy. Um, I had a few injuries during my career, which prevented me from, going to the next level. It's nothing that holds me back now. Broke a couple bones in my feet over the course of time there. Nothing that holds me back now, but once I was finished with football, um, there was actually a training school at the time called PWA, Pro Wrestling Academy, which was in New Haven, Connecticut, which is the same. Yeah, in the same town, Southern Connecticut State University was in. So I trained there. And then from there, I trained with the Kingdom, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, and actually Vincent for 2 or 3 years. And then from there, I went to a couple different places. And then I ended up training with Bubba Ray Dudley for, I think, like 2 or 3 years as well.
And that was at 3D in Danbury.
Yep.
So, and then I'm familiar with you through Northeast Wrestling. So, um, you've had a pretty great run in Northeast Wrestling. It's where I know you best from. You've had great opportunities there. What makes Northeast Wrestling work so well in the communities that they're in? And were you aware of them from being in Connecticut, or was it kind of just you found them through where you were training and what the opportunities were around you?
Yeah, no, I was always aware of them. Honestly, I don't remember who won. When I was in college, I saw um, there's an NEW show on my birthday, and I believe the main event or one of the featured matches was Matt Taven versus Brian Anthony in the cage in Waterbury. Um, but NEW works so well because it's great family friendly action. It's got a combination of the past, the present, and the future of wrestling. You know, like the smaller Bethany shows have absolutely electric atmosphere, and all the other shows have, multiple TV stars, multiple guys, who are capable of signing. I mean, pretty much the entire roster is a very TV ready roster. The bigger events, you got people who are on TV, you got people who were just released from TV. And Michael Lombardi just does a tremendous job of promoting.
Yeah, I haven't been to one in a long time, but I always had a good time at the Bethany shows. And then, for anybody who wants to poo-poo those, I mean, it's a small building and kind of sort of the middle of nowhere of Connecticut. I could say that being a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's such a cool atmosphere. And then you look at some of the people who have passed through Bethany and actually worked Bethany shows, and you've got Cody, you've got Jushin Liger, you've got MJF. So it's like, yes, it's basically tomorrow's stars today, but you kind of never know what you're going to run into in those shows. And it's such a cool, intimate environment to watch wrestling in. So it's so different from anything else you're going to see, and the quality is so high too. I can't vouch for those. As fun as the baseball stadium shows are, and the huge events like you're coming up in Poughkeepsie are, the Bethany shows are such a breath of fresh air if you just want to go watch a wrestling show.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's more people than you listed. Don't forget Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
That's where Johnny Jack went through. Flip Gordon, who's still wrestles there. Matt Taven, Mike Bennett. Did you say Ivar?
Yeah, that's true. Ivar, former NEW champion.
Yeah, and it's not just that, people who are already established passed through there. That was also the proving ground, the developmental ground for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's an impressive list for sure. Especially when I watch TV and I'm realizing I'm seeing 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that, okay, the first time I saw Cedric Alexander was the 3rd month of his career wrestling in Northeast Wrestling against Jaleel Salam, like 13 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's a really impressive list, and it's got to be fun for you to kind of still be active there too, and you see all these great names. It's a great landing spot for anybody's career, pretty much at any point. And they put on so many interesting shows. Any favorite moment that you've had in NEW in your active time there?
I mean, winning the title, beating Flip Gordon.
Yeah, and your title reign was pretty fun too. And I remember your matches with Hale Collins. Obviously, I've known him forever, but I thought those were very fun singles matches.
Yeah, he says the match at the Duchess Wappingers Falls. He says people still talk about that match I had with him.
It was a good match. Yeah, absolutely. A favorite moment for you in NWA so far?
Winning the tag team, well, either debuting, for me, I felt like, like you mentioned, like we were just talking about, there's a lot of people that have, developed in Bethany and have moved on to bigger things and whatnot. But I feel like, I've been kind of waiting for that opportunity for a while. I keep seeing all my friends and peers move up, and then I was just like, all right, when am I gonna get my shot? And then, when I finally debuted with the NWA, it's like, okay, I'm here. I finally got that moment. I finally, stepped to a bigger platform. And then there's also winning the NWA States Tag Team titles, which was
always seems that pro wrestling is a lot about the timing of when you're going to get that opportunity. And the way you mentioned that the fixers even happened, it was pretty much they were looking for something that you were exactly what they were looking for in that moment. Yeah. And you proved it to them. So
yeah,
pretty cool story of kind of your emergence. You got to love it when it's an overnight success, so many years in the making. It's like,
Yeah, no, no, 100%. And as much as I felt like I've been ready for, a few years now, it still takes, the right people putting in the right word with the right place with the right opportunity.
who are your favorite big men to watch of all time, and also maybe to work too, if you have some of those.
The obvious answers of, Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, King Kong Bundy, and Bundy's tremendous. I don't think he necessarily gets always all the love and credit that he deserves. Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Mark Henry. Um, you know, as far as opponents, Brian Malonis.
Yeah, that's a good one. And but I totally agree with you about Bundy too. If you go back and watch his stuff with Hogan back when they were the top,
Yeah,
they headlined a WrestleMania too. I had the pleasure of meeting him when he made some appearances in the Northeast too, and he was such a cool, funny guy too. Just didn't take himself seriously at all. Really easy to talk to, but he was quite young during that match with Hogan. And, he always probably looked older to people because he had the shaved head and you couldn't really tell how old he was, but he was only about 26 or 27 years old
wow.
when he wrestled Hogan. So
Yeah,
top of the world that early
and
on.
I forgot earthquake and typhoon, the natural disasters, and those two, especially those natural disasters are a huge influence on the fixers.
Yeah, and Earthquake was such an amazing athlete too, just for all the
Hmm.
different stuff that he did in his career and his life with amateur wrestling and sumo wrestling, and
Hmm.
then had the big pro wrestling career later on, where he was the top guy for so long. What kind of
Hmm.
what kind of guys who have been some influences on you in terms of any mentors that you've had along the way in your path in your career?
Honestly, my biggest mentor has been Matt Taven. I trained with him for a little bit. Um, he's like, through the years, he's been there for me, and now more recently, Jay. I can honestly say that, like, um, Jay's been absolutely tremendous. Um, I think why the fixes work so well is that that we do, yes, we're loud, over the top, obnoxious, but it's genuine. We have a genuine relationship. We genuinely like each other, and that's how we act.
So this is kind of the calm, low key Wrecking Ball Legursky today. So,
Yeah.
but you do have this outsized personality in your persona. Have you always kind of had that in you? Growing up, was it easy to turn on for what you're doing now?
Yeah. No, I'm either like, it's weird. I'm either one extreme or the other. I'm either really shy and quiet, or I'm really loud and over the top. And once I trained to wrestling, it's easier to turn on. It's actually easier to turn on in front of a wrestling ring than doing this interview right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
I can see that. That would be it's
Yeah.
because you're prepared for the you can't see the audience that you're working for right now because
Yeah,
unfortunately
exactly.
for you you're only seeing me and sometimes you're only seeing yourself.
Yeah.
The name Wrecking Ball Legursky, where did that come from?
Right. I mean, wrecking balls. That's always kind of described me. Whether that's how I played football, that's how I wrestled in high school. Um, I, my style has always been very straightforward, smash mouth. Um, and Legursky was actually the name. I'm a Giants fan, but Doug Legursky was the name of a Pittsburgh Steeler. He was one of the he was like the sixth offensive lineman in when I watched the Steelers when I was in college. He was always like the sixth guy in. Anytime someone at center or guard would get hurt, he'd be the first one there. Or on like a goal line package, they put him at like fullback, tight end, or whatever, and it just sounded like an old school smash mouth football name, and I don't know, I just came up with it and it worked.
And have you always wrestled under Wrecking Ball Legursky? Did you ever wrestle under another name that people don't know about necessarily?
Yeah, unless there's been like a one-off type of thing that I've done. Yeah, I've always wrestled as Rex Legursky. That was my first name, first gimmick. The evolution of it kind of changed over the years a little bit. Some fine tuning of stuff. But yeah, that's I've always wrestled as Wrecking Ball Legursky.
Yeah, it's been cool to see your growth in it too. I mean, I was watching you when you were still working in the full coveralls and that kind of stuff with the
Yeah,
manager.
the Dickies jumpsuit.
And then you lost some of the weight, went to the singlet, and kind of changed a little bit of your presentation. But it's been cool to see the ways that it's changed. And then I think you were billed as from the Steel City too initially when they were bringing you out as Legursky. So it makes sense if it's a Pittsburgh Steeler thing going on.
Yes, Steel City, USA. It also, made sense. Just it's a wrecking ball made out of steel.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the future looking like for you? What are kind of your goals upcoming in all the endeavors that you're doing in wrestling?
um, right now, win the NWA tag team titles, beat Powerhouse Hobbs for the AEW TNT championship, and win the NEW heavyweight title.
Once again, so we're going to move to something we call the 3 count now. It's going to be three relatively quick questions and your answers. We try to have fun with these and kind of tailor them to the different guests. So hopefully, hopefully they work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
have you ever had anyone come up to you at a signing and sing "Wrecking Ball" by Miley Cyrus to you when you're doing autograph signings?
Way too many times. Way too many times. And they always think that they are the first one to ever think of that. And the funny part, though, is I had my first match probably a couple weeks to a month before that song came out. And everyone thinks I named myself after the song, but I actually came out like slightly before. And every time, like again, like I said, someone they always think they're the first person, and they think it's just so hysterical. They're like, "Hey, hey, buddy, are you aware? Are you aware? There's this song. There's a song by Miley Cyrus, and it's called Wrecking Ball." I'm like, yes, I know.
I would love it if some promoter comes up to you like, "Oh, we're going to play that song for you out to the ring."
Someone actually did that as a rib. I wrestled on my birthday.
Oh,
Uh, Pioneer Valley, bro, probably like 5, 6 years ago. They didn't play it on the way to the ring. They played it after I
on
won.
the way out, so you could, so
Yes,
so
on
you
the way.
couldn't react to it while you're walking through. Hey,
Yeah,
at least it's memorable for people. They're going to remember,
yeah,
and the whole song goes "Wrecking Ball" the whole time. So hey, you know
yeah.
what, you go with it. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times in my life, and since it's actually my name that I've heard strumming on the old banjo. I've heard that, and people think that is hysterical, and I've been hearing that
Yeah.
literally all of my life. That they think they're the first person ever noticed that my name is
Yes,
Strum.
yes. They always think they are the first person. Always.
So second 3 count question: if you could wrestle anyone in history, who would you face off with as Wrecking Ball Legursky?
Bam Bam Bigelow or King Kong Bundy.
Why?
I mean, I think I pretty evenly match up with them. They're two of the people I watch the most. And that's who I get the most comparisons to. I get a lot of Bam Bam comparisons. I get a lot of King Kong Bundy comparisons. So
Cool. And then the last one,
would make sense.
aside from Wrecking Ball Legursky, who is your all-time favorite wrestling character?
Bam Bam.
Big Bam Bam guy. So similar backgrounds. You guys had, he had the amateur wrestling, he had the football,
Yeah.
grew up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Not probably as tall as you, although that might be deceptive too, because what are you, 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, I mean that's what I've never met Bam Bam,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that's what he was billed as well. And
Yeah.
that's also just to throw back to something earlier. Is it was pretty cool. He was the first ever Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
Right.
So yeah,
And then
so it was cool getting that holding the same title as Bam Bam Bigelow.
and I had no idea until King Kong Bundy died a couple of years ago that he was briefly managed by NEW president Michael Lombardi.
No, Michael Mercedes, completely different person.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking.
I did not know that whole. I mean, this was well before I was watching Northeast Wrestling, so
yeah,
I didn't even live in upstate New York yet. But that blew my mind when I saw it, because I had seen them together before when Bundy was doing some of his signings and stuff, but I did not know that there was ever a period where he was working as the manager in the corner. So I thought that was pretty cool to find out. Well, Wrecking Ball Legursky, thank you so much for joining me today on the Ring Pro Wrestling Conversations. I had a lot of fun with this. It's always good to get to catch up with you. You've got the NEW Spring Slam at the MJN Center in Poughkeepsie, formerly the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. People probably know it as better, where you've taken on the AEW TNT champion Powerhouse Hobbs, and you can catch him most weeks on the NWA on YouTube. NWA Power, NWA USA is the one half of the Fixers with Jay Bradley. So thanks so much for coming on today.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Phil.